Hi, this is my review of Chronicle Connection, a romance tabletop RPG. This is a solo journaling style of game that attempts to recreate the dating sim, perhaps visual novel experience that you see in video games. But of course, this is also quite usual in harem-style anime and manga such as Love Hina, Tenchi Muyo, etc. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. My only criticism is that it doesn't have bookmarks or hyperlinks, so it's not going to be very easy to navigate your way through the PDF. Which is somewhat of a downer because I think this PDF is perfect to run it straight from your computer or your portable device. But besides that, the quality is great. The graphic design is excellent. It represents a certain retro anime or video game experience. You feel as if you are actually playing one of those visual novels or romance games. Everything is well written and explained, well organized as well. And the illustrations for the waifus are also very appropriate. Personally, I'm a fan of more mature looking characters. Some of them are a bit more lolly, so if that's your thing, maybe you will like that. But it still fits within the teenage romance sort of experience. Now let's talk about the content. First of all, I would like to say that Cory Burns is doing an excellent job when it comes to trying to represent the anime and video game experience in tabletop role-playing games. Just take a look at Overarms or Red Giant. The link to those will be in the description of this video. And in the case of Chronicle Connection, he does not disappoint. As mentioned previously, this is a solo journaling TTRPG about love, life, and dating. To play Chronicle Connection, you will need 1d6, or a 6-sided die. You also need the printable character type and connection sheets in this book, and a journal. In Chronicle Connection, the character you play as is the protagonist of a romance story, and the plot of this story advances as your character writes in their diary, and interacts with their connection over a period of 24 days. During these 24 days, your character will interact with and learn more about their connection, possibly creating a kind and loving relationship, or possibly even a disaster waiting to happen. Chronicle Connection requires players to have a strong sense of imagination to tie the story together. Within this book, you will find many tools and resources to help guide you along, even if this is your first solo journaling game. Let's talk about how to play. Chronicle Connection takes place in mid-90s Japan by default. However, you can choose any setting, location, or time for your game as long as the game contains the following elements. One of the available connections, love and conflict as well. You begin the game by first choosing a character type for your character, and then a connection. Once these have been selected, you will begin on Diary Entry 1. Unlike the rest of your diary entries, your first diary entry must include the following plot points to set the tone of your game. You are new to the location your story takes place in. How and why did you come here? How do you feel about the new location? What trouble or conflict are you currently facing? How did you meet your connection? What talent do you have? These plot points help the player understand the character's past, present, and future. If at any point during the game you run out of motivations or ideas on how to continue, you come back to these plot points for inspiration, or just feel free to invent new conflicts within your character or within your connection. The game plays out with your character chronicling their day after it has happened, so use past tense in all of your diary entries. Once you feel that you've covered the day in your diary, you roll 1d6. Depending on your roll, you will time skip to a particular day. Once you have finished your first entry, roll 1d6 on your character type table and your connection table to determine how you and your connection interacted for the day. While writing each diary entry, describe what happened in the days where you missed your diary entries. This could be due to having busy days, being forgetful, or anything else. Day 24, your final diary entry can take place either 5 years after day 23 or 1 week after. Once you finish chronicling a day, use your 1d6 and roll for each section again to choose the prompt for your next day. You can interpret the prompts in any way that makes sense to you. Each one of these situations brings you closer to your connection or maybe even further away, learning about them in the process. So this is basically the good and bad ending in a video game or visual novel experience. Upon reaching episode 24, the format changes slightly. Instead of just chronicling the past, you'll also include the present situation your character is in. Now let's talk about the connection meter. This provides a way for players to better understand how the characters and the connection's actions have affected their relationship over time. This provides the player with a better idea of how to write out their characters and connections' interactions. It is also entirely possible to play Chronicle Connection without the CM or connection meter, for those who want more creative control. For each positive event that happens, the connection meter is increased. For each negative event, the connection meter decreases. Let's talk about heartbreaks. A heartbreak occurs when two or more negative events occur in a row from either the character or connection table. When a heartbreak occurs, the character loses one chance. When all chances have been depleted, the bond between your character and connection is completely lost, and the story ends. Make sure to detail this event in your own journal. Be careful because you start with a limited number of chances, and they cannot be restored in the game. There are also special events, which are meant to be intimate moments between the character and the connection, and advance the connection meter by providing a bonus to love. Now, I will give you a brief description of these connections without spoiling things. You have Kana, who is an outgoing person with a fiery personality, loud and spunky even while at work. You have Haru, a reserved, quiet and humble person with a quirky personality. You also have Satsuki, a cheerful yet bratty and attention-seeking person with a bubbly personality that has a penchant for racking up their credit card on shopping trips. You also have Akane, a nerdy, lazy, and yet direct-to-the-point tomboy at heart with a kind personality who spends a lot of time working on bikes. You have Hina, a university student by day and bartender by night. There is also Mirai, who is artistic and clumsy, sweet and charming, yet withdrawn and reclusive at times. There is also Yui, intelligent, headstrong, and caring. Yui is always one step ahead and always looking for the next big thing. There is also Kaede, musically inclined and playful. Kaede is feisty and energetic. There is also Mitsuki, obsessed with plants, patient and sometimes jealous, that enjoys the simpler things in life. And we have Rini, a strange and mysterious person that no one else seems to see. Rini is withdrawn and untrusting of most people, and uses strange powers. You also have character types which are pretty self-explanatory, such as the hard worker, the outgoing, the genius, the bittersweet, the mysterious, the emotional, the famous, the protagonist, the antagonist, and the unlucky. Near the end of the book, you have optional rules, which can be inserted into your own game of Chronicle Connection to add more complexity or randomness to your playthrough. Feel free to utilize these additional rules or build upon them in any way that you like. So you have sudden events, which are individual scenes that play out whenever the player rolls the same number for both their character and their connection when determining their interactions for the diary entry. You also have hidden traits. Players may choose to generate their connections traits from a series of tables as they play the game, instead of using the provided traits. There's also the rivalry rule, a different way to play Chronicle Connection that requires the player to generate a rival at the start of the game, who is competing against your character for the affection and attention of your chosen connection. And of course, because this is somewhat of a video game experience, there is also hard mode, which is simply a way to play Chronicle Connection with increased difficulty and room for failure. And this concludes this review. What do I think of Chronicle Connection Plus? I think this is a wonderful game. This perfectly represents the anime or video game experience of having these eligible bachelorettes trying to win their affection. There are many random things, but also plenty of replayability, especially with the optional rules. You aren't really playing this game for a tactical or strategic experience. This is about making sense of the events that happen each day. Although there is a certain push your luck feel to it, because through your creativity, you can handle some events as positive things depending on your connection. And don't worry if you go through all of the different routes or connections in this TTRPG. Because of the hidden traits optional rule, you can also come up with your own waifus to conquer. And I think it would also be a good idea to tweak or play around with the rivalry additional rule to play this as a two-player competitive game, with two players competing for the same love interest. So my highest recommendation for Chronicle Connection Plus. If you are looking for a solo journaling TTRPG experience that recreates the scenarios that you would see in anime, manga, video games, visual novels, etc., this is the RPG for you. Thank you for watching this review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.